Alright, in this insert we've had a lot of people asking us how we do foiling onto wood products and how we get this high gloss finish on there. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown on how to do wooden products. You can see here's a really nice box. We just painted it up and then we've foiled it, and afterwards we've put varnish over the top, and here's a nice flower with a design in it, same over there. So let me just show you quickly how we've done this. Now first of all, you're obviously going to need your wooden product, and here we've got a wood coaster. They're very inexpensive, and what you would do here is, obviously if you want it to be black, blue, red, green, paint it with normal poster paints. That's fine. If you want to spray paint on, also okay. So here what we've done there is we've now transformed the wooden coaster with a black background. Now obviously now we want to introduce a design into that. Now there's three ways of doing it. If you're very artistic, you can draw on there. Like here's a white pencil and I draw a heart. Okay. Now a lot of people are not terribly artistic, so they have to find another way of doing a really nice design. The one way of doing it is to use carbon paper and just trace a design to get your outline onto your background, because that's what you're going to work onto. Another way of doing it is using a stencil. So here I've just used this little gecko stencil, and as you can see there, I've been outlining it already just to get the pattern onto the coaster. Now this one we've done, it's already complete. Okay, but you'll notice that this section here is glossy over there, that half of the gecko. Now that's because I've already applied glue there. So once you've got your pattern, you're going to then take your glue pen and you're going to apply the glue inside your pattern, as I've done here. So there's an example. Take your pen and carefully, essentially you're just coloring in now, right, into your pattern. Now for those of you that don't know, this is a quick drying glue, and it needs to dry completely clear before you can actually apply foil to it. So right now there's nothing we can do with this section, but as you'll see with this section, I've allowed it to dry. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to dry clear, and you'll notice then it also becomes very sticky. I can even lift that little gecko up. Right, now this part here is ready for the foil, and what you do is take your foil, lay it over when it's clear, and rub down hard. Don't press gently, otherwise it will be patchy. You rub down hard and you apply the foil directly onto your gecko, and then you've got a stunning metallic gecko. Okay, now obviously to finish it off we need to varnish it. Now this one over here, here's the gecko, we've glued it, we've used the rainbow foil, and our coaster is now ready for the varnish. Now varnishing, this can be tricky, but we're going to show you simply how to do it. We're using a very high gloss varnish. It's almost like a resin. There's two parts to it. You mix the two parts together. The two parts must be mixed together exactly the same. So we've put, for this particular size, you probably need a tablespoon of adhesive, of varnish to cover that area. Now once you mix the two parts together, you take your brush and you thoroughly mix it up so that you make sure that the two varnish combinations are mixed thoroughly. You will actually notice, and I'll hold it up for you in a second, that when you mix this stuff, it starts to create millions of little bubbles inside the varnish. If I hold it up, you can see there's lots of little bubbles in there. Now once you've done that, you're going to start applying it to your wood product. Now what you do is you take your varnish, starting at the edge you work in. Right? This stuff is thick, it's like honey. So those brush lines that you see now will disappear when you're finished, because it kind of sinks in to itself, if you understand what I'm saying. Right, there we go. We'll just give it a good coat. Now don't be too fussed about the bubbles. The bubbles we can get rid of, and I'll explain that to you in a second. Now tip, when you're doing this varnishing, do it sort of late afternoon, early evening, because if it's very hot, the varnish tends to stay tacky for a long time. So rather in a cooler environment, just make sure. Now if you do happen to have a bit of an overrun, you can wipe it, but the reason we start from the outside in is to prevent too much of an overrun. Right. Now what you will do is that when I'm finished, we'll hold this up and you can do an inspection to see that there are no little holes that you've missed and that sort of thing. Remember, this is all going to flatten out. Might look a bit bumpy now, but as it sits, it will flatten out. Okay, and make sure you go over the edges. So take your time, put a nice thick layer on there, and then basically what we're going to do now is we just have a look at it. And you can wipe the sides if you want to, just to make sure there's no overrun. And then you can just, in the light, just move it around to see there's no little valleys that you've missed or holes that you've missed. I spotted a little hole there. We can just dab it up and whatever. Okay, now at this stage, I'm not sure if you can see it there, but there are little bubbles in there. Alright, now these little bubbles, we want to get rid of these bubbles, okay? And the way you do it is simple. It sounds funny, but it works like a bomb. Take a deep breath and exhale very slowly over the surface of that adhesive. There you'll notice that all those bubbles, the heat from my breath has popped all the bubbles that were in that varnish. Now at this stage, you've got to set that aside and allow this to dry. It can take 12, 24 hours to dry, but when it dries, you will really have a beautiful high gloss finish like you see there, nice and durable, and that finishes it off, gives you a beautiful finished wood finish like you see over there. Stunning. And that's pretty much how you would work on wood products, whether it's something simple like a coaster or a box or whatever it is you want to just give a bit of pizzazz. So that's how we work on the wood products.